Hi, welcome to createwithchristine.com. Today we're going to be making a pizza-shaped card, and here it is with pepperoni and all. Fun way to use up your scraps. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be using the Colossal tool to cut out our pizza shape, the pepperoni and the crust. And here's what we've got to, the first piece is a piece of 4x12 colonial white cardstock folded in half. We're going to be using the circle template of the Colossal, and we're just going to line it up. We want to make sure to leave a little bit of a fold, not cut. That way you don't end up with two pizza slices instead of a card. And you're going to want to take your Colossal knife, which is a swivel tip knife, and you're going to want to make sure it is flush against your template. And we're going to push down relatively hard so that we go through both layers of the card. Again, keep it at a 90-degree flush with the template and push down hard. And there we go. We've got the rounded shape for our pizza so far. Let's set that aside for a second. Now we want to go ahead and cut our pizza into a wedge. So to accomplish that, I'm just going to line it up on the Versamat. And we are going to make a mark at 2 inches. This mark is going to give us a line reference to go by to make sure we get a nice even wedge. Grab your cutter and you're going to line up that point with this point so it's a nice straight line, and cut away. And then we're going to, I just flip it over because it's easier for me. And then again you line up the point to point and we're going to cut. And there we've got our pizza shape. Okay, we'll set that aside for a second. We'll get the toppings for our pizza ready now. We need to grab the Colossal mat and the cutter again. And we're going to cut out our piece of pepperoni. Again, I've used just leftover scraps that I had. This is barn red because it looked like the best pepperoni color. And again, knife goes into the channel straight up and down and around. I hear a lot of people say that the Colossal is really hard to use. It can be a little bit of a challenge in the beginning, but stick with it because it's one of the best tools once you get used to it. I really enjoy using it. Okay, and there's little tabs that hold it in place, so you want to go ahead and cut those out. Just like that. There's our pepperoni. And while we have the Colossal mat still here, let's take our piece of brown bag cardstock and we're going to cut the crust. So I'm just going to use the leftover piece, and you're going to use the outer and the second one in to cut the crust. Just like this. There we go. We've got our piece of crust. Now we can set that aside, and we can set this aside as well. Now our pepperoni, to have a true authentic look, needs to have dots all over it. And so to accomplish that, I've used our black marker, barn red, and a white gel pen. You want to take the point end of the marker, not the brush, and we're just going to do little dots all over the pepperoni. Now you can always go back and add more dots if you feel it needs it, so don't go overboard the first time you do a piece of pepperoni. Again, since you're using your scrap, it's okay. You can always try over with another piece of scrap. I'm sure if you're like me, you have tons of it. Okay, so there's our piece of pepperoni. I'll set that aside. I cut out 4 of them for this piece of pizza. You could cut out more if you'd like. I found that 4 was good once I cut it up. And we're going to take our crust again, and you want to line it up on your piece and cut off the tips. And I've already done that. So it's going to look like this. You want to make sure you don't have any straight lines going in on your pizza, otherwise it doesn't look too authentic. Now to accomplish the look of the dusted flour, go ahead and take the sanding block, bend it just a little bit. And I find if I go one direction, I don't bend it like I just did. Just like that. Okay. So we've got one more step on this, the piece of crust and the pepperoni. You want to grab your Klezzle mat or some other soft mat. You can use the back of the Versamat as well. And we're going to lay them down, and we're going to give it a concave shape so they'll actually pop right off the card. And just like that. And this is using the embossing stylus. And then you want to lay like that. And see, it gives that concave shape so that it's going to pop right off the page. One more little bit and we are ready to start assembling our card. You saw that I had bits of black and green to resemble olives and green peppers. Again, using scrap paper, I just went ahead and cut up some black in little chunks. These are a little too big for olives, but you want to just cut them up into little chunks. And with green peppers, I found that they looked best if I kind of did a kind of circular angle and then tried to match that, so that way it looks like the green pepper when they get cut. You could also do diced green peppers. It's totally up to you. So now that we have all the pieces to our pizza, we can begin assembling. I started with gluing down the green peppers and olives, and then I'll fill in with the pepperoni. So let's go ahead and we'll get started. To make sure that my elements popped off the card, I used foam tape. And I want to glue my edges down so that it looks like it's part of the pizza instead of just an element sitting on top of the pizza. And so I just used a little bit of glue, lined it up, stick it down, and then we can start adding our pepperoni. So I just don't worry too much about placement. Pepperoni shifts when you cook it. I worked at a pizza place and I can tell you from experience. Got a pepperoni usually in the center. And one under the crust. And voila. A very simple, quick card that's a lot of fun to make and something quite original.